They come in here super sick, and we say, hey, do some IV vitamin C, or do some ozone, or do some UV light, these different modalities we have. And I mean, a lot of times they'll make you feel way better real fast. So then you keep eating your cheeseburgers and drinking your Dr. Pepper, and you just run in here and get your IV and make you feel better. And that's the green version I was talking about of treating the symptom. Instead of giving you a pharmaceutical, we can give you a nutraceutical, a natural symptom relief modality. And there's some good ones down there for sure. And we use them, but with the asterisk always, guys, this is not the answer. You're going to probably feel a lot better.
Right.
But I don't want you having to come into this IV room and doing these IVs over and over and over, or any of our procedure rooms.
Right.
So we do PRP, platelet-rich plasma. You can draw off a patient's blood, spin it down, and that separates the red blood cells in the plasma. And there's some really beneficial molecules, growth factors, stem cells that help regenerate tissue. So you pull that off and you inject it into the knees or wherever someone's got arthritis, and it can be very, very beneficial. So that's PRP. We have a machine called biofusion. Biofusion is hard to explain, but it's just a machine that vortexes light energy, spins photons in a circular motion. This causes a magnetic field to be generated. That magnetic field gets introduced to the patient's knee or wrist or neck or wherever they're hurting. Topically, it's through a little gun I call it. And that magnetic field vibrates the sodium and chloride ions in the collagen. There's collagen in muscle, tendon, ligaments, cartilage, and it causes healing to happen in the collagen. So, and that translates to decreased pain. So whether it's a bulging disc or a strained muscle, partially torn rotator cuff, arthritis in your knee or back or wherever, the biofusion machine can really, really help decrease pain and regenerate the tissue. The third one.
It can regenerate the tissue.
Yes, very much so. And PRP helps to do that too. Ozone helps to do that too. Ozone is oxygen. I call it super oxygen. It's O3 instead of O2 that you breathe. And ozone's been used clinically, medicinally for 100 years in Germany and in Europe. But the Germans are kind of experts of it. And it's just not widely known in America. There's probably a couple hundred clinics that do it. But it's fantastic, and the research on it is a pile from here to the ceiling. I mean, it's very well documented, very well researched, but it's not patentable. You can't put a patent on something that God invented, and that would be oxygen. And so natural things you can't patent. And it seems to be, looking back on my medical education, I mostly got trained in things that were patentable. And I hate to say that, but it seems to be a common theme. But anyways, ozone, it's amazing. You can inject it into a joint and stimulate cartilage regrowth. You can infuse it into someone's blood. If you take their blood out into a bag, into an IV bag, then you put the ozone, which is oxygen again, so it's a clear gas. You put it into the blood, it oxygenates the blood, then you put the blood back into the patient. What this does is stimulate the mitochondria. That's your energy factories. That's what makes your energy for the cell to function. It's got to make energy. And it stimulates the mitochondria to make more energy. That ozone also keeps the blood oxygenated well, which is very beneficial for energy production. It helps detoxification, helps decrease inflammation. Lots of benefits of ozone. Of course, just vitamin drips, like I mentioned, minerals and vitamins. Most of us are demineralized. Stress will cause you to burn through your magnesium like it's nobody's business. And then the magnesium's not in the food much, nor are the other minerals very much. So we do a lot of mineral drips to try to quickly bring the mineral status back up on patients. Of course, you can get it orally, but a lot of our patients would like to speed up the process. But again, we're always going to preach that, guys, this isn't the answer. Get your diet right, get your stress down. And of the 4 pillars, nutrition, hydration, movement, and peace, the lack of peace is the most detrimental to your health. You can nail those other 3 pillars just perfect, but if you're in fight or flight mode too much.
What do you do for your peace?
Okay.
Can I ask that?
Yes, you can. It's probably another hour talk, but I'll give the Cliff Note version of it.
I like Cliff Notes.
So I consider the peace, fight or flight thing to be kind of like with everything else. There's Band-Aid treatments, and then there's the cure. So there's lots of stress relief techniques, and Band-Aids are needed at times. I totally get it. I'm not saying don't ever use Band-Aid. But when it comes to fight or flight mode, you can go on a walk, you can meditate, you can go exercise, you can crochet, you can read a book, sing a song, whatever, sing Kumbaya. And that can lower your stress hormones. It can lower your heart rate. It can kind of push back against the fight or flight. But you're going to have to go do that again in an hour when you're stressed out again in an hour. You're going to have to continually go back to that modality to give you some sense of peacefulness. So it's not a true peace, and it only lasts for a certain amount of time. It's not really getting to the root of it. So there's all those, and that's okay. Personally, and this is a very personal kind of thing people have to figure out, or they have to wrestle with. They have to answer some tough questions.
For themselves, yes.
Because in my opinion, when in working with thousands of patients, I would say most fight or flight boils down to thoughts that we have about ourselves that aren't true. I'll give you an example. In Post, in the little town where I was the town doctor, the only doctor in the county, part of that, probably most of that decision to work in that environment and the stress that came with that was rooted, when I really, really got down deep into it, was rooted in the fact that my identity and my self-worth and my value and my ability to be accepted and loved by family, peers, the community, whoever, was rooted in that I had to be this small town doctor just like my granddad's. If I wasn't just like my granddad's, I'm doing the house calls and doing the whole small town thing, then I just wasn't good enough. I wasn't going to be accepted and loved, and I was just no good. Well, that's a lie, obviously. That's not a true thought. It was a thought I had, but it wasn't based on the truth. So ultimately, I couldn't just, tweak my schedule down there in Post and take Wednesdays off, or try to see less patients, or try to say no to this or no to that. I mean, you could try all that. It would help some. Ultimately, I had to figure out, why am I saying yes to all these things, and why am I still here? Because I believe God made us to be on the earth to do, each one of us individually, do our own special, specific, unique thing. And when you're doing that unique thing that you were created to do, I think you'll be tending the garden, not toiling in the garden. So I've still got a big clinic with 6 nurse pracs. I've got a clinic in Abilene and San Angelo also. I'm very busy, busier than, I guess you could say, a lot bigger than I was in Post, but I'm less stressed because I'm more in line with who God made me to be, doing what He created me to be and do. So I go home at the end of the day, it feels like I had a full day, but it was tending. I was tending to what I was supposed to do and not toiling and just, the stress of that. So that's, for me personally, I believe you got to wrestle with, is there a God or is there not? If there is, does He really know me? Did He really know me before I was in my mama's womb, like it says in Scripture? And does He have a call on your life? Did He put something in your heart that motivates you and drives you, and you would just wake up and do anyways? If you had all the money in the world, what's that thing that you would just do because He put it in you to do? And it's just who you are. That's the thing, and you've got to do that. We tend to not do that because of fear of provision. Oh, I can't make enough money doing that. Or protection. No way I can take care of all the things I need to take care of my family, and blah, blah, blah. And then identity. If you don't really know who you are, and that you're here for a purpose. So those 3 things: provision, protection, identity.
Well, I think knowing who you are is the toughest thing, because as we grow up, we've taken in what everybody has said about us.
Yes.
Or we have to live up to their expectations of who they believe that we are.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of self-work, which is probably another week's worth of things. So we might bring in a professional to talk about, like, how do you get to that? How do you remove? Actually, just thought of the right person to do that. And he broke it down. He's a neuroscientist. And he broke it down within minutes of how to remove all that garbage and move on. I may just have that and refer to that one coming up.
Well,
Go ahead.
You're right. It gets put on us. And really, it's our culture in America, this performance-based mentality. And we all get on the track early, you know, be perfect attendance in elementary school and you'll get some award. Be first team on the basketball team. Be first chair in band and achieve in National Honor Society and all A's and all this stuff, get a scholarship, and none of that in and of itself is bad. But if you interpret these things like I've got to do all this to have any value or to be loved or accepted, well, that's a big problem. And unfortunately, that's an easy thought to come in. You know, no, my granddad's never told me I had to be like them to be loved. My parents never told me I needed to be like my granddads to be loved.
Right.
So no one verbally usually, I mean, I guess
that's
they
that
could.
Expectation you put on yourself.
Yeah, it just comes in, and if someone hasn't spoken into your life the real truth of who you are and what your identity is and why you're here, then you miss it. So most people have missed it, and they're living life, and they've made decisions, and they've had relationships and broken relationships and all kinds of stuff that leads to fight or flight.
I've got a few tips for peace. Okay, set your alarm 3 to 4 times a day, and on your alarm you can actually make a note and just put the note, say laugh, and I don't care what you're doing, what you're in the middle of it. And even if you're not arguing with somebody, it's funny because you just, even if you go and it's a sarcastic thing, it's like your body doesn't really know that, and it just kind of breaks that, and then you kind of start seeing how stressed you are actually throughout the day.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, it kind of works. It's funny, I passed my phone off to somebody and the alarm went off and it said laugh, and they were like, that is the weirdest thing. It's like you have to remind yourself to laugh, but you know, laughter is the best medicine. It really does kind of break things up, and I thought, you know what, heard something about it, thought I'd try it out. I think it's pretty cool. I do that. All my alarms are shut off right now for this recording. But another thing is sugar. Let me give you a rundown of what happened in my life. I mentioned Dr. Harlan, right? He's like, Tony, all sugar and white flour for 2 weeks, period. That's what you've got to do.
No questions asked. Yes.
No questions asked. You're not going to like it. You're going to go through withdrawals. It's not going to be fun, but do not give in. Oh my gosh. That's when I realized how much an addiction it was.
It's a drug.
So I kept going with that, the no sugar, no flour. I never added it back in for a long period of time. And I was shopping. I was so hungry, and I was like not feeling well, and I just felt like maybe, I don't know, my blood sugar drop or whatever. It's like I have to have something, but I was in Target, so it wasn't like the grocery store. Right. And of course I picked up a bag of Oreos for my kid, right? And so I thought, I've got to finish my shopping before I go and get something healthy to eat, right? So I thought, okay, I had one Oreo cookie to finish my shopping. 10 minutes later, I was at the checkout line, and I had the worst abdominal cramp. It was, it was so bad, I thought I was going to pass out, like stars in the eyes and kind of stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is really, really bad for me, you know? But let me tell you what happened after that. For about 12 to 24 hours after that, my mood changed. I was angry. People that know me know it's very hard to get me upset, okay? But I was angry, and I like usually process stuff and decide, take the better path, a more peaceful path, right? And I was just yelling at my kid, and like everybody was stupid, and everybody was in my way, and it's like I became a monster. And that was the only thing that had happened, is because I had that. And I feel like sugar can be a depressant. Yeah. And it's like when you are still on the sugar and you're like, okay, I didn't have any sugar today, But what did you have for breakfast? You had the pancakes with maple syrup, or you had the biscuits. Guess what that breaks down into?
Sugar.
And if you remove that, you can see your mood change and the fog start lifting and become a happier person, more peaceful person. That's been my experience.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And you asked, what do you do when you first come to Veritas? And that's going to be one of the first things is get the sugar out. People don't realize sugar's more addictive than cocaine and heroin. They did a study with rats in a cage. They gave them sugar water it was like 50 rats, sugar water for a few days, and they shut it off, gave them cocaine water for a few days. And then they opened it up to free choice. They could choose either one, and 48 out of 50 went to the sugar water because it causes a release of dopamine in the brain, and dopamine's that was good hormone neurotransmitter that gets you addicted. And so sugar will cause that to be released more aggressively than these hardcore drugs. So it is addictive. It's in all the food. If it's in a package, it's got it. And there's like 40 different code names for sugar, so they disguise it. If it ends in OSE, dextrose, maltose, high fructose, corn syrup, these are all code words for sugar.
And what you're not going to remember is what he told you unless you wrote it down and you're reading every single label. That would take you about 5 hours in a grocery store. If God made it, eat it.
Yep.
If he didn't make it, don't eat it. And that's pretty much it.
Yep.
Like shop the perimeter of the grocery store, right?
Yep, exactly. Try to eat food that doesn't require a food label.
Oh,
Think about that for a minute. But yeah, the perimeter is where to shop mostly. Those interior aisles, you got to be real careful. I mean, you can find stuff, but read the labels. You've got to learn to take the time to read. Like spaghetti sauce is a great example. I always use it because it's so stark, the contrast between just generic, old, cheap, what's on sale. I won't name a brand, but go look at your grocery store at the regular old spaghetti sauce. There's sugar in it, along with some other things you can't pronounce. And then get the healthier or the organic version, and you'll see there is spaghetti sauce that has just tomatoes, onions, garlic, and sea salt. Or 4 ingredients. You know what they all are. They're all God foods. It is in a bottle or a package, so you can do it, but it's hard, and you got to know what you're doing and look. I mean, I had a young man come see me. He's an athlete, high school quarterback, in shape. He was fit, but his sinuses were just awful all the time. And he came to see us as a patient, and he knew I was going to talk about sugar and diet. So he brought his lunch with him to prove to me. And he said, Doc, I'm not eating, chili dog, corn dog, Frito pie, Dr. Pepper like all my friends at school. I bring my own lunch, and here's what it is. And I said, all right, let's see it. And so he pulled out a Gatorade, baked Lay's potato chips, and then a sandwich with whole wheat bread, and then meat, lettuce, and mayo and mustard. And
well, here's the thing. Before you go on, he was trying to do good.
He was.
He just didn't know any better.
But ignorance, because no one taught him. So that's what we do here. We teach. So I had him flip the label over on the Gatorade and read how much sugar is in there. And it was just as much sugar as a Mountain Dew. And then I had him read on the baked Lay's potato chip. Read the ingredients. Yes, potatoes and soybean oil, but then there was sugar in the ingredients of a potato chip. And then the wheat, I don't have a book readily available, but there's a book called Wheat Belly. And this is the one book I will give doctors who are still conventional doctors and they want to maybe look at how we're practicing. I'll just tell them to read Wheat Belly first and then come talk to me because it explains things so well. But basically, modern wheat has been hybridized so many times and changed and altered so much. The starch content of that wheat today, 2 pieces of whole wheat bread, will raise your blood sugar as fast as drinking a can of soda. So you got to be careful with the wheat. The whole wheat, healthy noodles, whole wheat bread, whole wheat anything, it's still going to raise your blood sugar. The wheat today is not the wheat of biblical times. That wheat, which is what we have in our flour bin at home, it's called einkorn, E-I-N-K-O-R-N. Einkorn flour is the original wheat. It only has 14 chromosomes in the DNA of the original wheat, 14 chromosomes. Today's modern wheat has 46 chromosomes. It's a totally different wheat. It's been hybridized so many times, and the starch content's totally different, so it jacks your blood sugar up very quickly. The modern wheat does. The gluten, totally different gluten in today's wheat than in the ancient wheat. In fact, the ancient wheat, that gluten doesn't even register on today's gluten sensitivity testing. It's totally different gluten. And that's a whole nother lecture too, but I don't know where we got off on that. But the point is sugar. Yeah, that's where we're going. Sugar's killer, absolute killer. But carbs, carbs go right in with the sugar. So.
And I think so if you have someone who becomes your patient and you say, get off the sugar, get off the white flour, do this, eat this, and they're like, but my family is not going to eat like that.
Right.
Right. What?
Well, we have them get with our wellness navigators. So we have employed some ladies. They're actually down in the kitchen right now. I can smell them cooking. And we'll ask that patient to get with the navigators and just explain to them what are the biggest challenges. Is it breakfast? Is it making kids school lunches? Is it at night because you're too busy? And what are your challenges? And then they'll give solutions. I mean, we had one patient told the ladies, I'll never cook. I can't cook. I don't cook. My wife died. I eat out 3 meals a day, every day. I'm going to do that till I die. So one of our wellness navigators went around to 20 different restaurants in the Lubbock area, pulled the menus, and just went through and basically circled, well, here, and here's what you can eat. And typed up the list and emailed them the list the next day. So
it's like a concierge service.
Yeah.
Wow. Kind of. I just feel like you go above and beyond with your practice, and I really appreciate what you do, the education. Now, you actually do podcasts, do you do radio? How can people listen to you to learn more from you?
Yeah, and then for 2020, we're doubling down on this whole education because my goal, kind of like Dr. Wright's goal, is to keep you out of Veritas Medical. So we've established Veritas Wellness, and most of this is just online, although we'll have some local classes live. But Veritas Wellness is all about education. So a podcast called You're the Cure.
You are the cure?
Yep,
okay.
You're like you are, You're the Cure. That's been up on iTunes for a while now. We also put that on our website, a replay of that on our website, but probably the best place is just our YouTube channel, which the YouTube channel, we changed it. There is one under Veritas Medical, but Veritas Wellness. I'm totally doubling down on this education thing. So Veritas Wellness YouTube, You're the Cure podcast. I do talks all the time. I have a talk tomorrow at the Science Spectrum here in Lubbock. We'll record that too. Instagram and Facebook, we're on there. And we will be launching a curriculum, online curriculum in January is the goal, where it'll just be these videos in an orderly manner. You know, I just vomited out a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We'll try to make it a little more organized and orderly. You can reference back to class number 4 about wheat or class number 6 about probiotics. And so it'll be a curriculum. You go through the class and you learn it, and you graduate from it, and the wellness navigators are a part of that curriculum so they can do some one-on-ones with you. All of this is outside of medical. It's kind of like what Cleveland Clinic did. Take their waiting list and dump them into the health coaching. That's what we're going to offer, something similar. So the Wellness Navigator one-on-ones in the curriculum. So Veritas Wellness will be launching in 2020, but the YouTube channel, Veritas Wellness, you'll find everything there. Every video I make, every interview, every podcast, we replay everything.
So it's just there on the YouTube. And they're going to find this on YouTube. So
we've got a website too, but the website's almost overwhelming. There's so much information. VeritasMedical.com is that website.
Very good.
But the YouTube's probably the best place to go.
Very good. Well, I'm gonna. Is there anything that you wanted to make sure to bring out before we end this program?
Just really stress to people that what I'm saying, I know is probably sounds totally foreign and maybe crazy. Your doctors are well-meaning. I went to medical school to help people. They did too, mostly, I think. So doctors want to help you. They just don't know that because they weren't taught. And they're like me. If the dermatologist says your eczema is just from genetics, well, he's not saying that because he wants to lie to you or that he doesn't want you to get better. He's trying to keep you sick. No, he's just telling you that because that's what he knows. That's what he was taught. He doesn't know that the diet and lifestyle have a huge impact on eczema and on every other disease. So it's just out of ignorance. U.S. medical schools don't teach this, and therefore doctors can't teach you. So find a doctor who's done extra training outside of regular medical school. Functional medicine, integrative medicine, Those are two terms you could Google in your town, and there's almost every town I think has a doctor like this. I mean, we can do some virtual appointments through wellness too, but I'd encourage you to find a local community and support structure there.
Yeah, because you have to have support. You really need that.
Yeah, we are the sickest. This is a final comment. We're the sickest country, industrialized country in the world. Pre-World War II, we're the healthiest, and now we're the sickest, no matter what way you measure it. Number of chronic diseases per patient, number of prescription drugs taken. That Blue Cross Blue Shield just released a study, their 2019 health data study. Age 27 is where we start to decline in our health now. So we've lost our resiliency. We've lost our resistance to disease. Our health span is shortened down to 27 years. 50%, almost 48% of American kids have a chronic disease. It's crazy. So we're in an epidemic of disease. It's the new normal to be diseased and be on drugs. Yeah. And it's not your genetics. Genes don't change that fast from World War II to today. Yeah. We can't, there's no, it's not the genes. So that's the biggest take-home message. It's not your genes. Your doctor knows very little of this, if any. I got 2 hours of nutrition and 4 years of medical school. So take control of your own health, get educated, find a doctor who wants to get educated, send them our way, we'll educate them. And then
and they're going to get the Wheat Belly book.
Yeah, get Wheat Belly. There's some other recommended readings on our website, veritasmedical.com. But bottom line is, go do these things. You're the cure. Go be well, and you won't need a doctor. So don't worry about Medicare collapsing, because you won't need it. Just be healthy.
Oh, that's wonderful. I also do a safety series for individuals, parents, children, how to break it down to children, different safety type practices. You have something that you do in your family in regards to being safe on social media. Would you like to share that?
Yeah, so we severely restrict social media and games. I'll say that because a lot of these games are interactive. We found out, and they're talking to people through the games, and we didn't even know who it was. So we ex-named the game deal because it became an addiction and an idol. So we destroyed the game. That may sound a little bit extreme, but from a social media standpoint, it's highly restricted. Our oldest child, who's in his kind of later teen years, he is on Instagram, but it's monitored daily. It's almost like a couple's Instagram with my wife. So she is monitoring that every single day. And that's our oldest. Our other ones they're not on social media at all. So very restricted there. And you just got to be real, real careful. Not only can it take your focus away, but that whole identity thing and knowing who you are and trying to live up to others' expectations and all these things. I mean, it's a portal for thoughts to come in that aren't the truth. So if that portal can be monitored by someone more mature who can filter that and tell you the truth and keep you accountable and that kind of thing, there's a way to do it. So that's probably number one. Number two, spend time with your kids. Just unplug, turn stuff off. You want to talk about stress. Stay plugged in all the time. That will stress you out. And the studies show it. The mitochondria gets stressed when you're always plugged in. And a real, real practical one, but I have to throw this in. It's from my old days in the emergency room. The ambulance drivers would call us when they were coming in with a motor vehicle accident. And really the only one thing we needed to know was restrained or unrestrained. The ambulance guys would say, I've got a 36-year-old unrestrained passenger. And we knew, oh, it's going to be bad. Wear the seatbelt. That seatbelt will save your life. So be restrained in a seatbelt and in your social media doings. Be very restrained.
So thank you so much for that. If you want to check out the safety series, it's in the playlist, and there's all sorts of subjects of how to be safe, and appreciate those tips that you gave us, real life tips, even as a parent. So we appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
There is a wealth of information here. Did you hear him say, oh, that's a whole nother couple of hours? I heard sugar and stress. Those are the two things that really popped out to me. He does have that curriculum, 2020. That's your goal for 2020. Just jump on it, take the curriculum, and be well. get well.
Amen.
And it's a family event.
Yeah.
It is a family event. Let me tell you, those kids are not going to like getting off of sugar, but you have to have some alternatives. It's like, well, what else would it take? The curriculum, do that. And if you have anything what I really like in the comments, if you know how to put the comments in the YouTube channel, or you can contact me with my email address, which is in the description box. What is the top 2 things that you would like to hear Dr. Ben Edwards talk about? And we can do that on the next interview. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Tony, for having me. It's great.
If you have found this interview informative, please hit the like and the share button. It will make a difference as to how many people see and benefit from this vital information. Most importantly, click the subscribe on this channel, click the bell beside it, and click all so you can receive alerts when there is something new and you can stay informed. This has been TotallyT, your solutions girl. Good health to all of you.